Hi, and thanks for clicking. You've probably noticed the content on my YouTube channel recently has been a lot of Vars vlogs and audio from a podcast I've been releasing. Well, I'm about to change things up a bit, and it's going to involve, well, these and these. A few weeks ago, a mate of mine mentioned that he was doing the Heroes Run, and this is a local race in Brighton where people dress as heroes, supervillains, that sort of thing, in order to raise money for a charity. And this year it's a Brighton-based charity called Rise UK, which helps to support victims of domestic abuse. For those of you with good memories, you might remember myself doing a vlog on this a few years back, 4 years ago, when I wore lorica and did the 5k march. There's a 5k run, there's a 10k as well, and there's even a run for kids as well, but I'm just going to do it in the 5k. And I did it back then, I'm going to do it again, and in this preview to it all, I'm going to be going over what I expect. I'm going to be looking at what I'm going to be wearing and what I'm not wearing, and also I'm going to be tracking against how the legionaries marched and the sort of estimates that we have for them as well. So there's a bit here hopefully for everyone if you're interested in what it feels like and what you can expect when you wear one of these out for a brisk stroll. For those of you who are familiar with lorica segmentata, I've got a few vlogs on it and exactly how it functions and how I wore it and how I do wear it on occasion. So I'm going to be wearing this. I'm going to be wearing the helmet, and I'm also going to be carrying the scutum, or the shield as it were. And these are the three main things that I'll be using. I did take the peeling with me the last time I did this. I'm going to go against that this time round, because even though I had a tennis ball on the end of it, it's still a pretty dangerous thing to walk around with, particularly when you're unbalanced. If I drop that, if it falls forward or to the side, that could take people out, not in a particularly lethal way, but at the very worst it's going to trip people up, and I don't want to be that guy. I've already been that guy enough times in my life, so I think I'll leave the peeling at home. I'm also considering the same with the gladius. The main reason being is I'm not fully sure of what I am allowed and not allowed to carry out with me. And effectively it is a very large sword. Now it's not sharps, but it has got a pointy end to it, and it still could in theory do some damage. And again, I don't want to be that person in the headline, so I may well leave the gladius at home too, and I suppose it gives me a bit less timber to carry around with me. However, we'll see nearer the time. I'm also not going to be wearing caligae, which are the sandals or the sort of boots that you might have been familiar, you might notice when you watch reenactors do their thing. And there's one big reason for that, and that is I've had advanced legal warning for my feet that if I were to wear these, they'd just divorce me on the spot, and quite rightly so. I'm going to be wearing my running shoes, and this is really because, as much as I can be, I'm just at my age a bunch of injuries just holding it together. Now if I wear these, then I can kind of lessen their chances of giving me any nastiness during the actual walk or march itself. It's also another slight interesting aspect to it is that caligae aren't particularly great to wear on hard surfaces, and I'm sure many reenactors will tell you that. There's even a story that Josephus refers to, and it's involving the siege of Jerusalem, and one centurion is chasing after some people. He falls over because he's running on hard ground, he's running on pavement effectively, it might be marble. He slips over, big crash, and they all turn round, and actually he then is dispatched as a result because they all turn back round and finish him off. Bit of a shame. Now obviously nothing like that is going to happen, primarily because I'm not involved in the siege of Jerusalem, but also even less chance of me running in any of this or holding any of this. But generally speaking, I'm going to be wearing trainers because it's safer for me, there's less injuries, and it's just a nicer thing for everyone. But still, all of this combined here, so with the lorica, with the helmet and the scutum, just in case you're wondering, this is 18.5 kilograms. That's quite a bit of weight to carry around. Not as much as a legionary, and we'll get to that in a second, because it's probably worth us now thinking about number crunching in terms of how quickly I'll be marching and how much the legionaries would have been carrying. Now before we go anywhere near numbers and marching times and things like that, it's worth considering something a bit bigger, and that is the weather. If the weather's too hot, then the armour doesn't really help me at all, it cooks you. And even though tortoises and the like do like hot weather, I'm sure I won't do when I'm surrounded by a lorica that's gradually heating up on the outside and on the inside. If it's too cold and therefore raining, that can cause a problem too. The lorica is very adept at rusting, as I've found out numerous times. And I'm also, something I would not like to find out is whether or not this my scutum has any kind of fish glue holding it together, because that was traditionally what was used in scutum. It was wood and it was held together with fish glue, and fish glue had this great habit of being easily dissolvable in the rain. Legionaries used to overcome this by carrying their scutum and shields in leather, big leather sort of sachets. I don't have any of those. I'd rather not find out if there's any fish glue here, so if it can stay nice and sort of warmish but not too hot, I'll be very, very grateful. I'm sort of like meteorological Goldilocks. Weather aside though, there are some things we can have a bit more fun speculating about, and that is the Roman marching times and the sort of paces they would have set for themselves. Now, the only source that we've got for any of this is Vegetius, and unfortunately Vegetius isn't that great because he's 4th century AD, though he does seem to utilise and source earlier sources. Perhaps we can speculate he gives an idea that 20 Roman miles, which is about 18.5 modern miles, was done in around 5 hours. And that brings it out at around, I'll pretend I haven't already worked this one out, 3.86 miles per hour. Extrapolate that across 5 kilometres and you've got a time of around 50 minutes. More recently, certainly more recently than Vegetius, I just stumbled across a chap called Steve Kaye, and I've put a link in the descriptions box to the paper that I found, which I think is absolutely brilliant reading. It's very, very detailed. A lot of it I couldn't understand, as graphs and charts and all sorts. He goes into the sort of energy expenditure of a legionary on the march, and part of that obviously was the march itself and how quickly each legionary was moving. Though Vegetius gives us quite a quick pace at 3.8 or 3.86 miles per hour, Steve argues that it's a bit slower. It's probably around 2.86 miles an hour, and that obviously makes things a bit easier on me. To extrapolate that across, that would mean me doing the 5k in around 1 hour 5. I pretend I didn't already know that. Of course, the big difference is that a Roman legionary will be carrying a lot more than I am. Now, I said earlier this is about 18.5 kilograms. Roman legionary is carrying, we estimate again, these would have varied, around 30 kilograms of weight. But set against that is the fact that I'm nowhere near legionary fitness, as you've probably already guessed. So I'm going to be channeling the testudo vibe, certainly in terms of pace. The route that the race goes on is one that I sort of run every so often. I jog it, I can do it, it's 5k again, and I can do it in around 33 minutes or thereabouts. So what I'm going to do this time round is up the science part and do a bit of very basic science. I tried to do it earlier when I did it back in 2014 and it was okay, but I've got a Fitbit, I've got a few more ways of understanding and appreciating the dynamisms and the sort of basic physiology involved. So I'm going to be tracking that. And the week before I'm going to go out and walk the route so I can get my sort of heart rate, I can get my time, and I can get all the sorts of other data that I might want to look at, and then I'm going to contrast it with what actually happens on the day, and I'll be looking at the two. When I pick this up in my vlog after the run, and believe me, I will be doing one which features all sorts of bits and bobs, I will obviously be able to break that down a bit more. It'd be quite interesting. Last time I did it, there was a huge, or certainly much higher in terms of heart rate. My heart rate was higher. I expect that to be the case this time round. I hope you've enjoyed the preview. You can follow me on Twitter, @AncientBlogger. I'm going to be using the hashtag milesaway. See if you can work out the pun with that one. And needless to say, I'll be spending the next few weeks trying to shed a few pounds or a few kilograms just to make this a little bit easier. Now, one of the things I really wanted to do, and one of the reasons I wanted to put this preview up, was because you might have questions. And I do get questions under all my vlogs, and I really enjoy answering as many as I can. Sometimes I simply have to signpost you onto people who know more than me, or sources or anything. But if you've got any questions that you want answered or picked up when I do the walk, and to address them in the vlog after the race, which I will definitely be putting up, then just leave them in the comments section. But you can also find me, as I said, @AncientBlogger on Twitter. There's my website, ancientblogger.com. Come and say hi, leave a comment, leave a question if you want it picked up. And until then, keep everything crossed that I don't get any injuries. I'll be doing the same. But more importantly, keep safe and stay well.